Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Texas Motor Speedway, a track known for known limits. The question's going to be, who can come away with the victory tonight as we're all set to go for the Texas 210 for Northwest Cup Series racing action live on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince, alongside the booth tonight is Greg Rentz, Wesley Outland in the pits with Charles Wooden in the director's seat for tonight's action. It's a unique racetrack here at Texas Motor Speedway, known for its flatter banking compared to 3 and 4 and turns 1 and 2 after its most recent repave, and a track that is expected to challenge these competitors to the limits throughout the 210 total miles tonight. A lot of discussions from these drivers this evening, especially with the pressure on for the playoffs. That is something that will become a key in the next 8 weeks, as 6 drivers are currently eligible for the postseason, with a 7th expected to be eligible after tonight with victories. Dan West Jr., Sean Brightsman, Seth Frazier, Christopher White, Jeff Stabnow, Corey Walters are all in. BJ Tidrick will make his 15th start of the season tonight to also lock himself in. The drivers who have concern, though, who have wins, Bruce Wee Weaver is currently 19 points back of 16th spot of the points to lock himself in via victories for the playoffs. As well, Caden Anderson is deep in the field, 77 points back after missing a few races early on the season, and must start the next 8 races to have a chance to meet the minimum starts requirement and get himself towards the top 16. As said to drivers in the race briefing today, it's still possible, but it would be quite a feat. Tonight could challenge these drivers from head to toe, to say the very least. Race meeting is currently underway for these competitors. The quickest driver practice was BJ Tidrick, needing some good pace tonight with a 28.741. Kevin Smith, Devin West, Joshua Marcy, Carl Burke rounded at the top 5, separated by just more than a 1/10 of a second. Want to swing towards Wesley first things first, because tonight, this is a track that could test these drivers right from the start of tonight's action. And there's a saying, everything big is bigger in the Texas. And it was a big win for Sean Brightsman back in the springtime in week 3 with the different configuration.
And another thing we haven't talked about as well, Justin, is the fact that these drivers have been off a virtual week before, ready to take it to the limit. Let's be honest here. It's coming down to white knuckle time tonight here at Texas for the event. Then we come back with another week of 4 races, including Chicagoland, Kentucky, Auto Club, taking off for Labor Day, North Wilkesboro, Pocono, off week. And then you got that chance in October to go to Sonoma, road course, different animal, and then Talladega. What a wild card that'll be. Those are the final 7 races before we go into the playoffs. And the playoffs, I think, for this series, for the first year champion to be decided for the Northwestern Cup Series, is phenomenal. There's going to be eliminations, top 12 drivers, 4 rounds. You get eliminated, top 8, then you go to the top 4 for the finale at Phoenix. This track, Texas, is so unique, Justin, because it is a lot like Charlotte. It's a lot like Atlanta with the similarities of the track comparison. But these tracks are not the same. You cannot drive Charlotte the way you drive Texas. You cannot drive Texas the way you drive Atlanta. Texas has been configured. We've heard of the word progressive banking. This is one of the tracks that was used for that. And I think we're going to see a lot of progressive banking here tonight. And the way you make your strategy on and off of the pit lane is also going to be a big deciding factor of who will be the winner when the checkered flag falls here this evening.
Think back to the eNASCAR Pro Invitational Series when that series went to Texas. Drivers could stretch it as much as 66 laps on the field. That can open up the strategy calls for some of the racing tonight. It's expected to be a 2-stopper realistically at 50 and 100 or so if it stays green. But if anything was to happen throughout the race, things could get wild here, Wesley. This is a track, again, known for its intensity. This is going to be important for a lot of the air drivers in the points hunt, though, to have a clean race, because the drivers who are first into that top 12 without victories right now, Stephen Paulison, John Autumnbucker, Stephen O'Hare, and Frank Harris, the big one, who has had some major bad luck the past few weeks.
Yeah, right, you are about that. I mean, this could be a really, and I say this, Texas could be a wild card here tonight. I mean, we can see some of these drivers pull the trigger and try to battle for one pit stop, maybe to try to stretch it into 2-stop runs, 2 green flag runs. But then another thing we're going to look at is we're going to see a lot of caution flags. We know how these drivers are in the Northwest Cup Series, Justin. If they see a caution come out, whether they've only been on 10-lap tires and fuel, they're going to come to the pit lane. They're going to top off the tanks. They're going to make those adjustments if necessary. They're going to get 4 brand new Mr. Feel-Goods or 2 and go back out and contend here. So, again, I think it all depends on what happens here at the Big Hoss Mile and a Half Texas Motor Speedway. If you can negotiate good, have a long green flag run, then we might see a scenario of a 1 pit stop at least, maybe 2 at tops, as you said. But if this race gets caution flag, Katie bar the door, I believe with this progressive banking, we can see that here virtually here tonight to Texas.
Qualifying is underway. Race meeting has wrapped up. About 7 minutes or so for drivers to set times. The first man on the track is Bruce Wee Weaver. And new look for him tonight, throwing back to Greg Biffle this evening from his first races in the Truck Series, in real life as well as the Cup Series. Looked very sporty in practice, but it's not as easy, remember, as running in the pack compared to how you run in qualifying, especially with how you take 1 and 2 where it's much more flatter and you can't just simply go full out like you can in 3 and 4 right here.
The Granger number 40 entry coming off of turn number 3 and 4 here on the front of the double dog leg entrance here in Texas, as this is the driver Bruce Lee Weaver. Again, 1 win on the season, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s for the driver of his 15th, now make it his 16th start. But here's the thing that's hurt him in the points, Justin. He's got to win, yes, but that win came at Homestead back in March. He's been on a dreadful slump lately. He's got to turn things around here. Actually got to win at Michigan too. But other than that, he's had 9 DNF finishes, and that's hurt him.
Yeah, and in turn, this is going to be a very crucial race to try and get things turned around, because here's something to think about. There are drops, but here's the problem. If you don't have all your drops as DNFs, or rather, you use all your drops for DNFs and you have more than that, that's what can absolutely put you behind the 8 ball, indeed, for this championship. A couple drivers didn't get the chance to set any practice times tonight. Some latecomers this evening. Dan West Jr. up to the top of the board already in qualifying with a 28.895 on his first lap. The other was Caden Anderson. Both drivers have been extremely strong throughout this season, Wesley.
Jeff Stabnow, again, somebody we're going to be watching for certain, and as well as this man right here, the driver that is the current points leader of the Northwest Cup Series, Dan West Jr. 17 starts, 2 wins, 4 poles. 8 top 5s and 15 top 10s for the driver, who normally is an average finish of 4th or 5th. When it comes down to the wire, him and his son Devin hook up, and any other teammate on Team LSR, they will come to the front. Keep an eye on that 55. He could be somebody to watch here. It's been since, by the way, March 23rd, the last time we were at Texas. He was on the pole for that race.
Yes, indeed. This is one of his best tracks. In fact, you see Jeff Hagan finished up qualifying. A couple of his friends will be making some of their first starts of the season. Jacob Davis, Rodney Goins are working with Hagan tonight. It's the 3rd start for the 27 machine on the campaign. You see Goins now making the racetrack now here at Texas. He's made some starts in the Truck Series, if you remember, Wesley. This is his first Cup Series start in its series' history in 2020.
Got a pretty looking nice car as well, ready to make a staple, if you will, here on the clock in qualifying. We'll see what he can do as the number 3 comes across the start-finish line on the clock. Right now inside the top 10, pretty impressive.
Yes, indeed. Right now, he had a 29.472 as his quickest time in practice. We'll see how Goins does here on the racetrack. The air newcomer today is Torres, Chris Torres specifically, who is a 29.2 in practice, an early top of the board driver, in fact. But here's the thing here, Wesley. Goins not able to hit the bottom line at all in 3 and 4, building up momentum for the second lap. In fact, it's a 29.7 on his first lap.
Got to pick it up for sure. That was his warm-up lap just a moment ago, as Rodney Goins is now on the clock. 29.779 the time there for Rodney. 13th, as here comes now Kevin Smith, the Jegs entry, bumping him now to 14th, and he's got one more shot at it, guys. We'll see if he can get it done. Tyler King just cracked the top 10. He goes in the 6th position on the clock. And will he improve? No. He'll stay 17th there, Justin.
He actually lost 2/10 on the second lap, struggled to get to the bottom side, and that's going to be a difficult part, I think, throughout this race today. Once again, 20 drivers so far have taken times. Among them, yet to take them, Jeff Stabnow, Devin West, Casey Garber, who's back in the field tonight, Sean Breitzman. Looking at Stabnow, this is his first time across the stripe, was one of the quickest in practice, one of the quickest first laps at 29.244 to start, and much lower compared to Goins, you can see.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what he can do here right now. Jeff Stabnow. Yeah, I call him the Possum on the Truck Series, Justin Prince. And I don't know if you use that nickname here in the proverbial Cup Series, but the reason why I call him the Possum up in the booth every Thursday night is because he literally plays possum. He'll come out of nowhere. He'll put it on the pole. He'll proverbially say he's going to win, and he will. He'll say he'll struggle, and he does really well. That's just the talented driver that Jeff Stabnow is right now. We'll see him go where? Almost second?
Yes, second.
Yeah, see? There you go.
Just
and no practice time, no practice time. He literally said he literally was 30 minutes away from having to possibly throw in the towel and say, I can't race tonight, and makes it in. Another driver we got to watch, Sean Breitzman, 46.
Remember, he's the defending race winner here. He won back in March after a 2-tire final pit stop to help win that race after what was described as the first of many rabbits out of his hat this season. He's pulled the strategy card in a few of his races for victories, others on outright speed. His first lap, 184 miles an hour at the stripe, a 29.137. That is on track for another top 5 qualifying run if he can carry the speed, Wesley, again.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what he can do here as Sean Breitzman down the back straightaway. And if I remember correctly, didn't he the most recent winner on the series too?
Yes.
Didn't he win a couple of weeks ago at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park?
Yes, indeed, and a wacky one, but was able to overcome some damage early on the race to take home the checker flag in what was an intense one for 40 laps at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. At 29.165 on his second lap, though. Actually slower than his first, so he is going to have to start from the mid-pack tonight.
Wow. That is very abnormal for the driver of Sean Breitzman in that car, number 46. Currently the man third in the in the top 5 in the standings right now with 17 starts, 5 wins. 5 wins. 5 wins, 1 pole, 8 top 5s, 10 top 10s for the driver of the number 46. And now BJ Tidrick racing with a heavy heart, lost his friend. And we remember a crazy race back a couple of months ago when he got his first Northwest Cup Series win right out of the gate almost at Darlington.
We'll discuss that more as the race goes on. He finishes his qualifying with a 7th place run, and the last driver on track to put in official time, Dan Stussy, Casey Garber, Ray Fournier, do not put in times in this session in the final few moments. But his
Not
best
a good
friend,
car
go
count
ahead
here tonight here, Justin. Wow.
Yeah, very solid field. 30 cars brought their machines to the racetrack today at Texas. BJ Tidrick being given a chance to talk to his fellow competitors. His best friend had passed away this past week, J.C. Walford, from a heart attack. Drivers will have a moment of silence on lap 100. The Northwest Tour will also retire the number 100, which was his number in that series' competition.
Yeah, what a way to pay respects to him. I know I talked to Tidrick before we got started here, Justin, and he was saying how much he appreciated the friendship that he had with his friend, and definitely looking forward to what the Northwest Cup Series and LSR TV can do in tribute for his friend tonight.
Drivers have finished up qualifying. We'll take a look at how they'll start now as the man on the pole tonight. It's Devin West. It's his second pole of the season, a 28.780, the only driver in the 7s. Jeff Stabnow qualified second, Dan West Jr. in third. Rounding out the row 2 is Joshua Marcy, one of his best starts of the season. James Vining brought back the cat car tonight to start P5 with Roy Grande in 6th. The Taco Bell machine has had a lot of momentum recently. BJ Tidrick, the fastest driver in practice, starts in 7th, with Seth Frazier, no practice time, in P8. Eric Cheney, Bruce Wee Weaver round out your top 10 tonight, Wesley.
Tyler King will start 11th in the 44 machine. Carl Burke will start 12th in car number 53 from the Northwest. Moving on to row number 7, Stephen Paulison in the 58 13th. Ricky Bozer, 42, will make up row number 7. Row 8, 15th, Chris White for Simstar in the 83. And another driver that's really improving, you mentioned Grande, Dan Lowther in the 63. He'll fire off 16th. Row number 9, John Ottenbacher in the 89. And Sean Brightsman, the most recent winner at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in the 46, is 18th. Caden Anderson, he picked up a win a couple of weeks ago. He's 37th, and Frank Harris will round out the top 20.
Deep in the field, Corey Walters in 21st spot. Gary Nichols in 22nd spot, looking for some luck with the 29.626 in qualifying. Chris Torres making his series debut, starts in 23rd, while Kevin Smith, one of the fastest drivers in practice, didn't have a good qualifying run in 24th. Ronnie Goins in his first Cup start starts in 25th. So does Jacob Davis in his first start in 26th. Jeffrey Hagan starts around his friends as well in 27th. Casey Garber, Ray Fournier, Dan Stussy did not put in lap times for tonight's action here from Texas Motor Speedway. That's a look at your starting grid for tonight's action. Track conditions, 87 degrees is the track temp, 75 degrees is the air temp. Very windy at the moment, winds gusting to the south around Texas Motor Speedway. 1.5 miles, your track distance for tonight. But the pace car starting to roll, all the competitors starting to roll for tonight's action, and what's expected to be a competitive one. To touch upon, once again, Texas Motor Speedway, the Great American Speedway, has been open since 1996 and was reconfigured in the last decade. The man who starts on the pole, though, is with Wesley.
Devin West for Team LSR TV, ready to go with a lap in qualifying. You're ready to get off the schneid and get a win here at Texas.
Yeah, it should be a good race tonight. 140 laps is a long time, so it'll be a lot of fun. My first race back in the series in a little while. Just fortunately missed a few due to real life racing, which I can't complain about that. Should be like a good race. See how my speed hangs out for the race. I know my qualifying speed was good in practice, but the race is another story. So wish me luck.
I know we're coming to green, but I have one more quick question. Is that a new sponsor on the front hood of the car?
I believe I've put the web switches on the car, along with the washer switch supply on my truck. So, yeah, we have a lot of supporters, and hopefully make him proud tonight.
All right, buddy, go get him. That's Devin West. He'll be on the pole, ready to go here for 210 miles, 140 laps here around Texas. Justin, it's about to be go time, Big Hoss, here in the Lone Star State virtually.
Yes, indeed. The pace car is off. Devin West in control of the field. Jeff Stabnow on the outside. Green flag up in hand. We're underway from No Limits, Texas. Race leader Dan West Jr. taking the spot away from his son. Greg Rentz now joins us in the broadcast booth as Joshua Marcy nearly got loose down the backstretch. Great start from the West family racing machines and Team LSR machines.
Yeah, the West family out to a big lead here. I was working with some microphone issues. It was my turn to have the issue, so I'm not sure how we went about it on qualifying, but Dan West Jr. leading the way here. Looks like he started in the third position. Devin West got the pole, so the West family, once again, very strong effort here in the early stages. Looks like Josh Marcy having a good run here in the early going. Qualified fourth, running third as they roar down the backstretch here at Texas. Lap 3 of 140, and Justin, it's a familiar sight. West family racing up front.
Yes, indeed. Remember, Dan West Jr. was quick here before wreck in turn 3. It's Dan Lowther in trouble. We stay green. Everyone's able to dodge the 63.
Lowther keeps it going into number 63, the Oregon driver who's getting set to move to Idaho here in the next couple of weeks, moving back home to the Boise area.
Oh, and he's in the
wall hard again, and I think there's more action going on up in front of him as I saw more smoke ahead. Don't see anyone else pulled over, but he's in the wall, and he is smoking heavily in turn 1, Justin.
So that's going to be an obvious fast repair likely there. Believe it was actually hit by Rodney Goins' quarter panel. Just as he was trying to get by and stay on the top line after his trouble, he had spun around and nearly turned the 44 in the pack. Now he's on the apron. A rough debut for Goins already, involved in that trouble down the front stretch and has some right rear damage. He's in 24th position, all while the battle for second sees Marcy take away the spot.
Marcy to the inside of Devin West, bringing Jeff Stabnow with him. Here comes Dan West Jr. in the number 55. Leading the way, but Marcy with a big run. And remember, Justin, he was leading quite a while at Canadian Tire as we almost went 3 wide, but Stabnow thought better of it, and that's going to work out for him as he gets the run on the outside.
And as they're side by side down the back straightaway, update on the car with a similar color scheme, Wesley.
Yeah, action already underway for on the pit lane. Dan Lowther into the wall on his own. Lost it. Came back, kept on going, corrected, bounced off the number 3 machine of Rodney Goins, and that put him down in the concrete barrier virtually into turn number 1. He's going to do a quick repair, and hopefully he can go for those waiver rounds to try to get 1 lap down to get back on the lead lap, but he's pretty disappointed after what happened just a moment ago.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And a rough start from him, absolutely. But for Joshua Marcy, a great start. +3 from the drop of the green flag. The quickest car on the short run so far, Greg. Made it look easy on the bottom and the top to complete the passes.
He's shown a lot of speed in his limited starts in this series, Justin, especially since the switch over to Chevy, which makes up 3 of the top 4 right now, as Jeff Stabnow in the Ford to the inside of Stabnow in the Chevy. So now it's Chevy, Ford, Chevy, top 4 as the West family racing. The early leaders now go to battle for the 3rd position as Marcy leading laps for the 2nd straight week, and he has shown a lot of speed in his few starts this season. Justin, could tonight be the night?
Have to wait and see indeed right now as he's up at the front. By the way, you mentioned Dan West Jr. He wiggled up the racetrack in turn 2, and that's been a trouble spot here with the flatter banking in that part of the racetrack. It's hard to grip it, and it's easy to just wash up and bobble up the racetrack and lose momentum. That lost him the bottom, Greg. He's now back at the end of the top 5 as a result.
That just shows you just how quick things can change here at Texas as he's trying to hang on, as Seth Frazier in the number 32 coming in to put some pressure on. Frazier fresh off win number 3 on the season at his home track in real life, Wenatchee Valley Super Oval. Going back to 2018, Justin, in real life, Seth Frazier has 8 main event wins in a row, and he's looking to keep that success going here on iRacing. A dominant, not a dominant season, but a successful season thus far for the 32. Here he is knocking on the door of the top 5 again.
And remember, Seth Frazier started off really strong, Greg, then had a very rough stretch where he had a lot of sub-top 20 finishes and drop finishes below the top 15. Then he started to wake up, it seems, once the summer months started.
And I was talking with him a little bit this past weekend because he stayed the weekend at his house for our race in Wenatchee, and over some adult beverages we talked about how his season had gone, and he said if he could make it to the championships at Phoenix, he liked his chances because he likes that racetrack. So for Seth Frazier right now, the goal is just to make it to the finals, which he feels Phoenix is one of his best tracks. So he just wants to get that positive momentum going and shake off that stretch that you talked about there, the tough run of luck. He wants to shake that off going towards the playoffs because he really likes his chances here in the playoffs if he can move forward.
How about some tough luck for Caden Anderson? He missed the start, Greg, elected to start from the pit lane. He's now the first car a lap down, as he's already been caught by the race leader. That's how important the draft can be at some times here at this racetrack. They're running 29.7s, nearly a full second of fall off already in this race. Well, Caden Anderson, he's been essentially running that pace, if not slower, since the drop of the green flag.
Making it just in time for the start. He texted me about an hour before the race asking about progress on when it was going up. I told him he had enough time. Unfortunately, just barely missing the start, so now he's got his work cut out for him as he's a lap down now in the number 37. The good news is he's the only driver a lap down right now, Justin. So if he is to catch a caution here, he'll be back on the lead lap in no time.
Well, that just changed because Dan Stuzzi's now on the apron with some trouble, with some damage. He spun on his own down the backstretch. He's now ducking to the pit lane this time. So move Anderson, just like that, back into the lucky dunk spot either way. Stuzzi with a rough break in the 78 machine. By the way, the race lead is separated a little bit, but the battle for second is now side by side. Stabnow in the bottom, holds onto it for now. West trying to get the run, though, back to the bottom side with a cut.
The dirt modified driver IRL to the inside of Stabnow. That's LSR TV 2 and 3 right now. And West is going to take the spot. And look at the Catman, James Vinian, a good run for him so far in the 333. Up front, BJ Tidrick, well, not up front, but battle for 6 between the teammates as BJ Tidrick to the inside of Seth Frazier. And of course, Tidrick racing with a very heavy heart this weekend. Wants a good run and maybe win number 2 in tribute of his best friend JC Wofford. And here he is up into 6th, going now for the top 5. And Tidrick looking for that win here tonight, racing on pure emotion right now.
Very determined tonight, to say the very least. By the way, over the radio, Jeff Stabnow just tried to tell Vining, I'll let you go. Apparently, Greg, he's overheated the right front, and that's very easy to do with how the banking is here at this racetrack.
We saw that last time we were here back in March or April, Justin. A lot of drivers were worried about the right front tire, and here it goes once again. We didn't see a whole lot of that in our race earlier today at this track on LSR TV because we didn't really get a chance to overcook it because we had so many cautions. But with these long green flag runs, this is what you have happen on these long green flag runs, especially here at Texas with this new configuration. We saw it back last time here. Sean Brightsman, of course, grabbed the win there. Seen it again here today as Stabnow falling back a little bit after a good charge early.
An update from the pits, by the way, from Wesley on Stuzzi, who has now also parked his car.
Yeah, tough break there for Dan Stuzzi. Wanted to grab him for an interview on that number 78 machine, guys, but he just simply said, kind of disgusted right now, really want to decline comment, but just his own error got in the wall, took himself out. He feels that he is not competitive enough to try to go for a free, to go for the free repair and come back out and come back from laps down. So Dan Stuzzi will officially retire from this race and be the first car out of the event.
Unfortunate for him. Thank you very much, Wesley. Lowther is still running on the track, by the way, 4 laps down. Anderson, the only driver, 1 lap down. As Stabnow still holding on to 3rd, Vining in 4th, Tidrick in 5th. Devin West and Joshua Marcy still 1-2. Dan West Jr. back in 6th. Frazier in 7th. Roy Grande in 8th. Bruce Lee Weaver quietly is in 9th. One of your biggest movers early on, though, to touch upon is Chris White, who had to start deep in the field this evening, Greg.
Yeah, Brickyard 200 winner Chris White in the 83, up 5 positions already from 15th, but a hard charge from BJ Tidrick. He just got around Vining for the 4th spot. BJ Tidrick is driving on pure emotion here tonight, and Justin, I'm going to tell you from experience, I've seen this out of BJ Tidrick a couple of times in person at tracks around the Northwest. When BJ Tidrick is driving on emotion, 2 words: look out.
And he had that impressive victory, remember, at Darlington, where everything fell his way. But since then, he's been getting faster and faster and faster and faster. He's quicker than the driver in 3rd spot. Stabnow gives him the space. Move BJ Tidrick now up to P3 for now. No, Stabnow tries to keep it up high.
1 win on the season for Tidrick to go with, 4 wins in this series for Stabnow this season. So I believe there's 5 wins
Change for the lead
on screen. We got Val for the lead going. Devin West gets the lead from Marcy. So the pole sitter back to the lead, Justin.
Yes, indeed. Good run off the corner out of turn 2 last time by for Devin West. Was able to get underneath Marcy as he slid up the track. Gave him the space, and now Devin West is now the quickest car on the racetrack. 30.4 last time by. The drivers in that pack we're keeping up with 3rd on back, by the way, Greg, are running 3/4 tenths a lap slower than these cars. As now Tidrick, now having to defend from West Jr., holds on for now to P4.
West Jr. there as well. Seth Frazier getting around Vining as well. Chris White knocking on the door. Excuse me, that's actually Roy Grande. I saw the blue and red and thought it was Chris White because I've gotten so used to his scheme. It's actually Roy Grande who's having a quiet run up here in the top 10. Qualified 6th, running 8th right now. Taco Bell on the hood of the 18. Yes, Cody, we do have Taco Wings in the race here tonight, but up front it is Devin West and Josh Marcy pulling away from the field. They've opened up 2.8 seconds, just about 3 seconds over 3rd place Stabnow.
Yeah, they have been the class of the field so far. Last time by 30.5s. Stabnow at 30.7. Tidrick at 30.6. Only driver within that range was Dan West Jr., who has the draft behind Tidrick at this moment. This almost gets back to the discussion of clean air versus dirty air. West and Marcy have had fairly cleaner space so far, have had a very clean race up front, while everyone else has been burning up their stuff, it seems, trying to fight side by side at times, and has been dealing with dirty air a lot. Frazier nearly runs into the grass, has to check up.
Good job there by Frazier to back out of it there and hang on, not lose a spot just yet, but Vining able to peek back to the inside. Chris White is also beginning to close in on this as he has caught the slipstream of Roy Grande, so the Amsoil Ford, and I didn't notice this because I was dealing with microphone issues. He's doing something that we see quite common in the Northwest with that scheme here, Justin. I don't know if you guys talked on it while I was dealing with my audio issues. The numbers on the rear quarter panel, that is pretty common in racing here in the Northwest, at tracks around the Northwest, and it's a very dividing topic. Personally, I love it, and I wish we could see more cars do it. I love the number on the rear quarter panel. That's just me, though.
Just to start talking about it, had a slight technical issue, but his car's okay, and his car gains an air position. Curious, Wesley, on your discussion point of this topic, because it is something that was tested more so towards the rear tire. Still on the door technically, but not on the quarter panel for the NASCAR All-Star race for the Cup Series this summer.
Yeah, I was actually at the Bristol Motor Speedway for the All-Star race, and one of the things they did was actually work on not putting the number all the way to the back of the rear of the spoiler like the way that, you see White has his car, but it was more or less of a way of flip-flopping the number to the sponsors. Put the sponsors at the front of the door panel, put the number kind of there to the side, and changing things up a bit. But I think it's cool that they've done that. I think it's awesome to try to generate. Who knows next, guys? We might start seeing neon lights under the cars. That was a big hit.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Curious to see if that comes back down the line. But to choose cone came into play from that All-Star
yes.
race for real life. That's going to take a lot of work, though. Should note for iRacing, they have mentioned that it's something that's not an easy fix on that side, so it could take some time to see that rule come into play.
You mean they can't paint an orange stripe on the racetrack and say, okay, guys, have a caution, go inside, go outside? I mean, I don't see that could be that hard.
Well, you also have to program the exact line properly without giving the black flag.
Yeah, exactly. I got you. Just a little humor there. But, hey, no, in all seriousness, the choose rule was a big success. People loved it. And people were bragging about it. They're bragging about it at Michigan this past weekend in the doubleheader weekend and all the series that ran them. So, with the exception of the road courses and Daytona, Talladega, looking at what the Cup guys are going to be doing, all the three major national series doing it. Listen, I have been for 12 years the national voice of the fast track racing series. And they have always, for pro late models on dirt, had the choose rule since probably 2007. And I think it's cool that finally the Sunday people will be able to see what the choose rule has been about for a lot of the dirt world for a long time. Just one of those aspects, gentlemen, where you're finally taking some of the dirt ideas, putting it towards Sunday afternoon. Sometimes they work perfectly, and sometimes they don't.
Great point there, Wesley, but the reason I said was it almost didn't work out well at all for Jeff Stabnow. Nearly ran over the back of Goins, and as you see on your screen, Tidrick was able to make the pass just a moment or two ago to get up to third. That could have been disastrous. They are starting to reach a bit of lap traffic in Goins as well as Hagan in this lead pack.
Yeah, Stabnow was in trouble there. Did a great job avoiding it. Up front, Devin West is slicing through traffic pretty solidly, but Josh Marcy is not going away, Justin. It was just 0.2 of a second exactly last time by. West able to get a good exit there off turn number 2, but Josh Marcy leading laps for the second race in a row, and here he is running near the front here, keeping pace with Devin West. Good run here for the 35 thus far.
Yeah, great run. This is shades of what we've seen from him at Darlington before. Things got chaotic in that race, to say the very least. Quickest lap on the track was by Chris White inside the top 10 at a 30.3. Most of the field in the 30.5s. That is already nearly 2 seconds of fall off over the course of 34 laps. But the pit window is quickly approaching, Greg, because you can make it up to 66 laps on fuel, but it's a likely two-stopper for tires.
And something interesting for those of you who watched the first race, the World of Thunder Monday Night Cup Series race here earlier today on LSR TV, they had the tire limits. They had 4 sets of tires on pit road. Northwest Racing Series, no tire limits on this one. So you can take tires as many times as you want if so inclined. The thing is, though, the same thing applies, only one fast repair. So same thing for that. If you get in trouble early and you have to use the fast repair, it could be a long day for you the rest of the way. But tires, not as big a concern because you have unlimited tires. The thing is, when do you use them in a race like this when it's gone green so far, Justin?
Absolutely, as it's nearly tight with the lap cars. Hagan nearly ran over by West Jr. Frazier nearly hit the wall off turn 4, and now they're trying not to hit him off the exit of turn 2. Not a pretty sequence as White tries to clear himself and nearly hits Hagan again. That wasn't pretty for that half a lap, but everyone survives for now.
We're still ticking here. On a normal day, we would be inside of 100 laps to go, but 6 extra laps here on the ticker for tonight, going 140 laps. Last time we were here, we went 134 laps, 140 tonight, so a little bit of a longer race than what we're used to, but so far it hasn't really seemed to affect anything as we've been clean and green for 37 laps thus far as we come around to start lap 38.
For those curious, why 210 miles and 140 laps?
Not sure.
The description actually put on Dan Lisa by the Northwest Cup Series for tonight is, and I quote, "'cause it's big, everything's bigger in Texas, y'all," essentially. They are right on that one because everything is bigger in Texas as talked about.
Big run out of Josh Marcy. Sorry, Justin, but he got a run to the inside. Actually got the nose in front of Devin, but Devin able to fight back on the inside.
Yes, indeed. able to get the pinch that time, and it took a few laps for Marcy to build up that run. It could be another few laps to try and build it back up, because yes, the straight line speed with the draft can reel you back in, but once you get to the corners, that's where Marcy is dealing with aero tightness, as we've talked about a lot of times, and that splitter has a hard time sticking more so in 1 and 2 than 3 and 4.
And Justin, you have a little bit more experience behind the wheel of these cars than I do as far as this downforce package. You called it the downforce monster while we were talking earlier today. So what exactly does that mean? Like, when you're in the position of, say, Joshua Marcy, you say it takes up a few laps to build up a run. What exactly are you trying to do to build up that run for the couple laps before you are able to take a stab at the lead like you did a couple laps ago there?
It's a bit different from real life, where you try and see drivers do different lines to get cleaner air. But it takes being able to stay focused, being able to handle the tightness and the potential burning of the right front tire in that grouping. As well in trains such as this, making sure you're patient. Because if you're not patient, Greg, that's where you burn up the equipment, and that's where you let that aero end up hurting you for the rest of the run. That's why on open side racing, a lot of drivers like to swing the car loose for when you're in the trains, where it fits more neutral compared to how you'd be in the race lead. We've seen it with a few of these cars in this group as well. If you try and play your marks right and wait for the mistakes from drivers, you can take advantage and move to the bottom, like Chris White now trying to do on PJ Tidrick. You've seen Stabenow also pass by him a few laps ago, as Tidrick is now starting to fall off with under 100 laps to go.
He may have burned up my front tire and is just getting to that point of needing a pit stop for caution. But Justin, Chris White is up 11 positions from where he started. He started 15th. He has climbed up to 4th now, having a great effort in the Amsoil Ford Mustang. So here he is coming after Stabenow for a spot on the podium. The Indianapolis winner earlier this season, having a very, very solid run here after starting 15th. Not the qualifying lap he wanted. Here he is to the inside of Stabenow. This is for 3rd.
Yes, indeed. So White continuing that momentum, looking very strong in this long run. He's the quickest car on the racetrack. And that different look Amsoil machine trying to get the run in 3 and 4, able to carry it at 164 miles an hour on the burp. Just can't get clear quite yet, as the momentum keeps Stabenow side by side and allows Tidrick to now reel them back in.
Yeah, BJ Tidrick was able to fend off Dan West Jr. once again. West Jr. not having your typical Dan West Jr. day so far. After leading a little bit early on, he's fallen outside the top 5 and is kind of struggling to get back there. It seems like every time he gets a shot back, something happens and he gets mired back a little bit further. He's in 7th now. James Vining hanging back there in 8th position, as Stabenow with a crossover on White in front of him to take 3rd back. But Dan West Jr. kind of struggling a little bit here, Justin, after leading a little bit in the early going.
Yeah, just a little bit at the moment, especially, again, the right front tire concern behind them. Tidrick continues to drop behind. It's Seth Frazier now looking to charge. Again, the expected window about 5 laps or so for drivers to go 50, 100, checkered. We'll see how many drivers try and stretch it as well, though, on the tires. On the fuel, it's not in the realm of possibilities tonight with this distance.
See what happens here throughout it. I believe Chris White may have Stabenow cleared in turn 1. Yes, he does. So another spot. He's on the podium now. Frazier has cracked the top 5 as he gets around Tidrick. But it's been a solid race back and forth. Drivers making moves and then falling back. Comers and goers up front. But up in the actual front, it's mostly been West Family Racing, either Dan West Jr. or Devin West, with Josh Marcy getting up there leading a little bit. West has opened up a 1.1 second lead, but the heaviest lap traffic of the day is in front of him. First up is a driver making his debut tonight, Jacob Davis in the number 65, and then KC Garber, first start in a long time for Garber. It's been quite a bit since we've seen him in the field.
Yes, indeed, one of his first starts of the season, about 2 or 3 prior to tonight. Quietly having a decent run, as the leaders still stay in that single file train once again. Chris White, though, has ran away from these guys by about 6-7 tenths already. The problem is with how these drivers have been holding each other up at times, Greg. The difficult part is, especially if it stays green, they're more than 4 seconds behind right now, second place, and more than 5 seconds behind the race leader.
So that just shows you just how quick these leaders are, Justin. As way back in the field here, Stabnow, Frazier, Tidrick, the light. Stabnow's coming on pit road, and the caution is out.
Oh, and that might be trouble for Stabnow. That might be a penalty, as it is Hagen who brings out the caution flag down the back straightaway.
Yeah, the caution was on before Stabnow crossed the commitment line. Taking a look at what happened to Hagen on the LSR TV replay. Off turn 2, just caught the wall, and it took the air right off into the inside wall.
And then, that insult to injury, Chris Torres also had trouble in the back stretch after that, all while Stabnow still elected to come down and pit. That is a penalty again if you pit with the road closed. This is going to be a tough one now.
Yeah,
but now bunches everyone back up, Greg.
So Devin West did not want to see that, but the thing of it is right now, Justin, is exactly that. Stabnow came or crossed the commitment line after the caution came out. The guy who's going to be the benefactor out of this is Caden Anderson, as he was able to stick with them for a majority of it. He'll lucky dog, but they're all on pit road and they're coming to Wesley. And no, they're not on pit road yet. Saw someone on pit road, but turns out it's just the field leading the way. Oh, there are a lot of cars on pit road, Wesley.
Yes, indeed, a ton of them, but 2 did not pit here, surprisingly here, Greg. Devin West, Joshua Marcy did not pit for some reason at that mark, as Chris White's the first off.
Chris White's the first off. What happened and why I got confused for a second was I was looking at Devin West. He was waiting for the pace car to catch up to him. The pace car had not yet gotten around Marcy and West. The rest of the field came down pit road. This is big.
They're not going to be happy on this one, so this means Chris White will now be the race leader because the pit road was still closed, essentially for West and Marcy, because if they pit, Greg, they'd get a black flag for passing the pace car, and that's a penalty too for anyone you pass under caution before you come down to pit, essentially, and don't allow them by. That's an in-race green flag penalty.
That's a tough one. We'll see here. And we're probably going to see them duck down pit road here, and all of a sudden West and Marcy's work just got a whole lot more. There are going to be 25 cars on the lead lap once this is settled down. So this entire race just got turned on its lid for West and Marcy.
And Wesley, I think you just got settled back in a pit road. The field just got flipped because West and Marcy could not pit because they weren't in behind the pace car when the pit road opened. They're now going to have to start at the back.
What a tough break and a penalty there. A penalty without it being a penalty for the drivers there. They got to fight and claw their way as we're under the first caution of this event. The man that's loving this, Chris White, the SimStar Motorsports entry, looking really, really strong. Seth Frazier in that number 2 position as a couple of cars are on the pit lane, including Goins, the other drivers in the back, taking service, having some things go on. Gentlemen, I told you when we came on, Justin, talking earlier in pre-race, it depended on the scenario of this transition of what we're seeing could possibly work out the possibility of that one pit stop to take things to the finish. But we start getting cautions after cautions, more pit stops are going to happen here.
This is going to really shake things up a little bit. Absolutely. Thank you, Wesley. Essentially, it's a one-stopper to the finish, already past lap 50. And cars, once again, can make it about 66 laps on fuel. Remember that number down the line. There is one wave around, as you can see down louder. Lucky dog under this caution flag ended up being Caden Anderson after missing the start and having to start from the pit lane. That's a big break for Anderson. He was having some decent pace that could keep up with the top 5 before the caution, Greg.
Yeah, that was a huge one there for Caden Anderson. He was trying so hard to stay with the field and is able to do just that. So that's a big one for Caden Anderson. Now he will be able to try to make his moves and try to work his way through the field. Looks like he's going to be in the 21st position once it's all said and done. Stabnow back at the tail end in 22nd after the penalty. He was already committed to coming on the pit road that lap, Justin, but he had not yet crossed the commitment line when the caution came out.
Yeah, he's going to have to start behind Anderson because of that decision to pit and lose some of his track position route. Flip that Anderson having to let by Stabnow with that call as well. Smith and Garber also pit that pass time by as well. Looking at restart around 88 laps to go here. How do you play this now if you're some of these drivers knowing you have one pit stop, if it stays green like it just did there, to make it to the end on fuel?
I think you're going to see a lot of guys be conservative on this run for at least the first few laps, Justin. You might see a lot of racing at the initial start, but once we get 3-4 laps in, I think you'll see guys settle down and think, okay, we had a green flag run that made it about 50 laps in that first run there. If you want to bet that it's going to happen again, so you'll see guys be careful out there and just kind of chill and try to click laps off away as quickly as you can and start making moves there near the end. But the guys I'm watching are the guys back here in like row 2 or 3. You got Breitzman, who's up in the top 5 for the first time today. BJ Tidrick, of course, we've talked about him and what he's driving for tonight. James Vining having a good run. These are the guys I'm interested in, Justin. Those 3 right there, along with, of course, Carl Burke there. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on Caden Anderson as well. Now that he's on the lead lap, what's he going to do on these first few laps?
One to go signal on the track. White in the lead. Frazier second. West Jr., Breitzman, Tidrick, Vining, Burke, Paulison, Grande, and Walters is your top 10. And for those wondering where the various different drivers who had a chaotic pit stop sequence under the caution flag are, Marcy is 19th, West is now 20th, and Stabnow is back in 23rd position, right behind, and in front rather now, of Caden Anderson for this restart. Have to see if the Amsoil machine can keep up the pace he had on the long run. Had to close out 5 seconds before. Not so much now. He's the control car. As the pace car all set to duck off. We're ready to go back to racing from No Limits, Texas. The Ford Mustang start on the front row. It's Chevy, Toyota, Ford, Toyota behind them. Frazier tries to jump it. White's off and away.
Chris White with a big jump there into number 83. Indianapolis winner trying to get away from 3-time winner this season, Seth Frazier in the 32. Trying to get a run in the outside, get down in front of West Jr. Chris White's going to lead the pole shot here off number 2, but Frazier with a crossover going low.
There's that draft coming in for the 32 machine. The purple and black machine to the bottom side. Moves Seth Frazier up to the point for now. Dan West Jr. looking to take advantage of Chris White stuck on the middle line. Also moves up to P2 for the time being. And again, this gets to, you need to be on the bottom if you want to gain spots, it seems, tonight, Greg.
Yeah, the bottom really seems to be the line that's working. And it was the same thing earlier in the World of Thunder race. The inside line was the line you wanted to be on. As West Jr. with a big run on the outside. As we say that, the outside lane gets moving.
And Frazier nearly spun it from the race lead. He's now back to second after nearly spinning it to the inside wall. Dan West Jr., part of that Team LSR TV group and West family racing back to the point. Here comes Frazier for the attack back, though, on the bottom side.
Frazier getting a run on the inside. West Jr. just barely trying to clear. He will off turn number 2 as they go side by side for third. Chris White and Sean Breitzman.
That's just behind these two at the moment. Breitzman is up to P3 on another purple machine, the Toyota Camry. Back to 4th goes Chris White, Tidrick to 5th. But it seemed like White was stronger on the long run. We might see him saving here in this group, especially with the train now of several cars. Top 10 separated by just 1.7 seconds.
Ooh, slide out of Breitzman for third. That's going to open the door for Chris White to come back on the inside. Tidrick and Vining hanging back there just in case. Top 10, like you mentioned, settling down. Meanwhile, checking in on some drivers who started deep in the field. Caden Anderson, one of them. I was just getting ready to say, trying to follow Stabnow through the field, but he gets around the 24 of Stabnow. So Anderson up to 21st position after restarting in 24th, but lost some ground there. Has a little bit of ground to make up to Kevin Smith. It's about a second and a half to the next car.
And remember, he had to pass by all those lap cars as well to try and get those positions. Now, it's going to be a long way to get back up to the leaders' draft, to say the very least. Trouble in the pack. BJ Tidrick's around. Several others spinning. Weaver involved. Also involved is Paulison. Autumnbucker's in it. Chris Torres also in it, as it's trouble and calamity in turn 4.
That's a mess in turn number 4, Justin. Big one up there. Bruce Lee Weaver, winner at Michigan. You see him getting going. Not sure just how much he got caught up in there, but big one here in turn number 4 for our second caution of the day.
I think your trigger again is the 72 and the cat car, the 333 of James Vining. Watch the entrance of turn 3. Keep in mind, BJ Tidrick missed the bottom, Greg, and ended up getting ran in from the back of as he tried to diamond the corner, and others tried to lock it up to avoid the calamity.
Yeah, still trying to get it lined up here. You see the wreck already in progress there on screen. You see a couple of the cars coming in late. We'll see if we can catch it here. We should be able to now. Here it is. You see Tidrick there hanging back with White and Brightsman side by side in front of him. This is the battle for 5th, as here comes Vining, and wow, Vining got a huge run there and just carried so much speed in there that just got in the back of Tidrick.
I think Devin West was also in that, by the way. We've seen in the inside wall. Torres elected not to pit after that. Dan West Jr. also did not pit under this caution. And a couple others played strategy games here, but man, was that a caution flag, to say the very least, Wesley.
Yeah, a big one there. All I saw was a bunch of virtual smoke coming through off the corner, the dog leg off 4, and so many top contenders involved. Devin West, you see Dan West Jr., his son Devin West got caught up in it. So did BJ Tidrick, racing with a heavy heart with a passing of his friend J.C. Wofford of the 100. Remember that special tribute moment of silence on lap 100 coming up as well. Other drivers caught up. Stephen Paulison, some big contenders involved with some heavy damage. Some might have to do resets. Some might have minor damage. I'll find out those stories and give you an update here on the pit lane in just a moment.
Torres elected to come down the second time around. Drivers who took 2 tires, Frazier, Brightsman, Burke, also had Anderson deep in the field elect to do so to get up to 13. But we'll take a step aside for a moment. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing. 80 to go from Texas.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees at yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
You've been listening to the sounds of the race cars. They get ready for one to go this time by 77 to go when the green flag waves for Northwest Cup Series action for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Outwin, Charles Wood in the director's seat with you for tonight's action. It's been an interesting one so far. 2 caution flags so far. It's still a one-stopper to the end on fuel, but several strategy calls during that pit stop window. Dan West Jr. stayed out to keep the race lead, but everyone else is on 10-lap fresher tires or so. Frazier on 2, Brightsman on 2, Burke on 2, Chris White on 4 tires, Roy Grande, James Vining, Corey Walters, Ricky Boger quietly up inside the top 10, and Joshua Marcy is back inside the top 10 with his call as well. Caden Anderson also took 2 tires and is now in P12 for this restart, Greg.
Hey, Justin, real quickly, guys, just found out all the cars that were involved in those accidents, fast repairs made. They're going to have to come back mired from the back, but they have all made fast repairs. They're ready to go. This is it. Remember, you only get 1 repair per race.
That's going to be important to remember for many of these contenders, especially with the championship fights. Stephen Paulison among the drivers who took his late, just catching up to the line, while Dan West Jr. leads the line back down the start and finish line through the quad oval. Green flag is back out.
Big lead, too, for West Jr. in the number 55, but this could be a problem as now Frazier's going to be able to pick a draft off either Brightsman or Burke, and it looks like he's going to go with Brightsman, so the 2 purple cars are going to try to reel in Dan West Jr., and here they come. Chevy, Ford, Toyota, top 3, and they are breaking away from the rest of the field.
They're 3 of the best drivers this season. Give a shot at the Burke to still hold on to 4th. But remember, the first driver on 4 freshies under that caution is Chris White in P5. Change for the race 3 nearly as Seth Frazier took a peek to the inside of Dan West Jr. Forced him up to the second groove, but made it work. Still holds on for the time being.
See how long it takes those 4 Mr. Feelgoods of Chris White to get going here, as we know Sean Brightsman's not afraid to take a gamble, and maybe Frazier taking the page out of Brightsman's playbook here on the 2-tire call here as he tries to get a run. Got really close to the wall there off turn number 4. Here he comes again to the inside, same spot as last time. Can he make it work this time?
Back single file once again. Should note, in the heart of the pack, this is about P11 or so. Eric Cheney just dived his way and bumped through 2 different cars to get up to P9, right in front of Caden Anderson, moved Grande up the track, gave a shot to Marcy, and gave a slight door to Bruce Lee Weaver. And oh, by the way, a secondary car also trying to dive underneath Bruce Lee Weaver to add to all the craziness. So everyone's not taking their time to get the track position right now.
No, it's time to go, I guess, if you're in the number 71 car of Eric Cheney. Number 76 on your screen, number 71 on the ticker, but he is making moves in that blue number 7671 ERE State Line Speedway Chevy, making his way up right now. Got Caden Anderson with him up in the wall. That was close. Who was that?
Believe that was Corey Walters as he now gets turned by Cheney. Anderson flips up into the sky. Walters is in it. Caution flag is out. A snap now, and several others crash into it.
Yikes. That's called big yikes right there as caution comes out. We take a look at the replay.
Apparently that 65 also had a bit of trouble right behind him trying to also run over cars. But
here we go.
You can see right there, Chanot Vining that had almost spun the car out in 3 and 4 all the way to the apron, Greg, before all this. That's what bunched them up.
That was close. I am just amazed at how much air Caden Anderson got. This is on board with Anderson. Let's go for a ride as we go spinning like a top, flipping through the air. And yeah, new front clip and rear clip and just about everything else needed on that number 37 car. Fortunately, he has the fast repair in the bank, but no doubt he's going to be upset about that. One more look at it from the blimp cam. Man, oh man.
A lot of damage on Caden Anderson, guys. We'll try to grab a word with him here on pit road in a moment.
Not a pretty one for a 3rd caution flag of the race. Now the strategy gets interesting. West Jr. stayed out before. Comes in this time.
Stayed out.
He's known for rolling up the dice. Everyone else behind him came in.
Justin, he stayed out, and he almost clipped the commitment cone there as he came down. But Wesley, the rest of the field's on pit road.
Yeah, Brightsman about clip that commitment cone to decide whether to stay in or stay out. He did make the commitment to stay on the racetrack. Meanwhile, going to pit lane stall number 3 is Dan West Jr. Josh Marcy right behind him. A couple of other machines also on the pit lane coming in for service. Jeff Stabnow involved in that accident. Sean Brightsman now roars off of the pit lane. All these drivers coming in to make repairs or take on pit stops, and we will grab Caden Anderson here in just a moment.
First driver off the pit lane you see on your screen on 4 is Dan West Jr. Frazier, though, again took 2 for a second straight caution flag. Those left sides have been now in the car about 15 total laps in this race. With that call, Brightsman, Tidrick, Devin West, James Vining, all electing to stay out for now on the track. Remember, Vining just involved in the caution flag. Mayha looking like his car, though, is on the cleaner side as we come to halfway this time. Wesley, though, you're standing by with one of the drivers who just got treated like a Frisbee.
Yeah, flying through the air for sure. Caden Anderson picked up a win not too long ago on the Northwest Cup Series. Caden, what's your take of what happened going into turn 1? And thank goodness that wasn't reality. You hit the escape key or you do a reset and you continue, hopefully.
Yeah, I honestly was really not sure what was going on there. Everybody kind of scattered in the middle of 3 and 4, and I just stayed in the throttle, and then going down straightaway, they got together. So, it is what it is. Took my fast repair and hopefully get back up there.
What is your take so far of what we've seen here at Texas with the first half of the race now complete?
It started off really good, being able to go green for that long, but we're having to see cautions, bridge cautions here, so I don't know. Hopefully we get some more green flag runs in and get back up to the front.
So, gentlemen, he has to take a fast repair after flying through the air, pirouetting through the air. He could even audition for the gymnastics after that crazy crash. But again, a fast repair. He's back. He'll be mired in the back. Pit stops have now concluded. And one of the things we talked about, Justin, as I'll throw it back in the booth to you guys, is the fact of what the race would be like when we see that green flag run. We saw about a 45, 50-lap green flag run. And since then, now we've seen 3 consecutive cautions. And when those cautions come out, obviously the ones with damage have to come to the pit lane, like Caden Anderson, Jeff Stabnow and others, but these other drivers are also making pit stops.
Thank you, Wesley, and this is going to be very tricky now because the 3 drivers again who took the gamble this caution right now are Tidrick, Devin West, James Vining. Brightsman elected to abort his call. The reason why it's a gamble, Greg, is those drivers can't make it on fuel and would have to come down about 10 laps to go-ish to try if it goes green from here. A couple have also elected to top off who are in the caution, mind you, like Corey Walters. It is going to be extremely close on fuel if we go green from here. Let's put it that way.
This is so wild, Justin. All these different strategies that have unfolded here, and we're only halfway through the race. Who knows what's going to happen in the second half? We saw close to a 50-lap green flag run. Since then, we've had a few cautions in the last 20 laps or so, but we saw they can go quite some time on green, so we'll see how it goes here. If this thing goes green the rest of the way, if we can get some laps clicked away, this is going to be an extremely interesting finish.
And part of that, too, is I remember drivers and fans and some people in the production trailer at the time in the springtime being amazed that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was able to stretch the field to 66 laps here at Texas. That might be easier said than done because when we go back to green, we're projected about 67 to go. Once the green flag flies, that is a couple laps out of the comfortable window, about 65 laps.
Just a couple. You can save about 2 laps on the green if you really try and you focus on it, but that is still just super close to cutting it. I don't know. I think I would want at least one more stop for fuel.
And gentlemen, if we go to overtime, throw that out the window too.
Absolutely.
100% yes. Want to go this time by the drivers who took the gamble for track position this caution. Devin West, BJ Tidrick, Seth Frazier is in 4th alongside James Vining, who took that gamble as well. Row number 3 is West Jr. and Burke. Marcy and White row 4. Weaver and Grande in row 5. Frank Harris quietly is up +9 spots inside the top 12, by the way. Chris Torres in his first start of the season as well, Greg. Give credit to him. He's been able to stay out of the carnage twice now by locking up the brakes and barely missing them. He's up to 12.
He's done a great job, and this is, I believe, his debut in the series.
Yes, it is.
Justin, he raced in the South Sound East Series. It was a little 12-race series that was aired on another channel. South Sound Speedway just kind of threw it together there, and we did some late models, some legends, street stocks. He was one of the fast guys in that series, so it's good to see him step up here into the Northwest Racing Series, and hopefully he's a member of another Northwest-based series that's coming up on LSR TV this season. More on that later, as BJ Tidrick is going to come to the green flag this time.
Hey, Justin, Sean Breitzman just checked in with him as we come back for the restart. He thinks he can go all the way to the finish of this race.
Thank you very much, Wesley. Remember, he topped off on the second time around after the caution after staying out the first time. Confusing restart as Tidrick goes a little bit late. Everyone bottled up. Still side by side, the whole entire pack as a result.
See what happens here as they sort this out. Tidrick trying to clear West. James Vining in third, trying to get up. Here comes Dan West Jr. to the inside. They are spread out all over the place here in the top 5 as West trying to get a run on the outside. Vining slides up in front of Frazier as they come off turn number 4. Drag race to the line.
Devin West wants the lead back. Tidrick gets the lead lap that time by. Seth Frazier already driving on the top side as well. Dan West Jr. right behind single file for the first grouping as Frazier got loose. Frazier nearly spun it right behind the leaders. Vining's nearly spun it right in front of third. And it's 3 wide again down the back stretch. Chris White able to take advantage to get by Vining as cars try and dodge the cat machine.
Vining going the wrong way on the one-way right now. 3 wide behind him. Josh Marcy peeking in. He's back in the top 10 after leading a little bit in the early stages, bringing Bruce Lee Weaver. Haven't seen him in a while, Justin, running the throwback scheme. He's trying to make his way up. Meanwhile, they are still side by side for the lead, but Dan West Jr. has entered the chat up there as well. He's making it a 3-horse race.
He doesn't elect to try and start a 3-way conversation. He elects to keep it a 2-way conversation with his son. Keeps it on the bottom side. The father gets the space, gives his son the quarter panel. He slides in the grass. Sliding around is the 5. He saves it off in the infield. We stay green.
That's a teammate, Justin. That's a teammate. And he is on pit road, and he slides into his pit stall. He's going to get the black flag for unsafe pit entry, but he made it into his pit stall. That's a good piece of driving there by Devin West. But man, oh man, that could be some drama in the West family racing camp now.
Right in front of me in the pit stall, guys, in West after sliding through that shiny green grass, through the tri-oval here at the Dogleg at Texas, made it to his pit stall. Again, as you said, Justin, he's going to suffer a penalty, so why not just go ahead and make a pit stop out of the deal in the number 5.
He's still in the pit box as well. Thank you very much. Though, as you've seen, though, his father took the race lead. Tidrick is now falling off on a bit of those older tires. He's been on the track for now 19 laps, including caution flag laps this time by. It's now West Jr. Chris White. 62 laps to go. The next driver who is on 2 tires, remember, is Seth Frazier, who had pit on the last caution. Roy Grande rounding out the top 5 at the moment quietly with a very good run tonight.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Roy Grande in the number 18, up in the top 5, qualified 6th, been in and out of the top 10 all day. But another guy who's been very impressive, Chris White, winner at the Brickyard earlier this season. Here he is, a very solid run. I tell you, if this thing goes green a long way, I gotta say it's hard to go against that 83 car tonight. He has been very strong on the long runs.
Yep. You see him right there now on your screen. It's now a 3-car train in the lead pack. Tidrick still being able to hook on as the caboose coming to 60 to go. Separated by about half a second, but Chris White has been dialed in, it seems, from the get-go. Really solid on corner exit. That's been his very, very, very strong suit, especially on the long run tonight, where he was the quickest car after 20.
He's been very good, but another car who showed a lot of speed early, he just got around Taco Bell for the top 5. Say hello to Josh Marcy. He's back in 5th, the early race leader after that problem on pit road. He is now back in the top 5.
Dan West Jr.'s son, Devin West, just came out of the pit lane, by the way. James Viney is also letting cars go due to damage in similar trouble in the 333 machine. So several drivers struggling on the racetrack at the moment with either penalties now putting the 5-4 laps down, or Vining, who is dealing with a significantly damaged race car that's off the pace. Race lead up for grabs, though, at the other end of the speedway. White to the inside. Dan West Jr. back on the top side once again. Hard charge for the Amsoil machine makes it look easy.
Chip boy Chris White is so strong right now, Justin. It is hard to go against what we're seeing out of the Amsoil Mustang. That new look really looking solid right now. Taking the lead for the second time tonight, Chris White leading at Texas.
The question is, how long will we stay green? And that's going to be the key, because if it goes green, it gets extremely spicy on the fuel and how the rest of this race plays out. The drivers who topped off for an extra lap or so and a couple extra tenths of a gallon, Kevin Smith along with the number 46 of Sean Breitzman. They topped off under the caution. Tyler King has also had some trouble and had the most fuel out of anybody during this past caution flag period. He's back in 17th. So keep those in mind. Corey Walters, remember, also topped off under the caution flag. You see some of them here.
Yeah, so we haven't talked about Tyler King a whole lot today in the number 44. His teammate, Steve Paulson, I don't think he's in the field tonight. I just realized we haven't talked about him at all.
He was in one of the big ones, remember, Greg?
Oh, yeah, that is correct. Yes. So not in, or kind of a quiet night there for Tyler King in the number 44. Just got up in the 16th as Torres hit the wall in car number 99 as King and Bozer got around him. Torres bounced off the wall, keeps it going, but is trying to settle it down. Breitzman making his way through. Breitzman says he's good to go on fuel, so he's going for it. He's climbing back through the field now, but still a long way to go for that LSR TV Toyota.
And our driver now in the garage area. By the way, we mentioned James Vining having trouble with damage after some of the earlier incidents, including sliding on the apron at one point and bottling cars up. He's now done for the race. He's now parked his 333 machine with 55 to go, coming to 54. But your leaders, you see them on screen: Chris White, Dan West Jr., BJ Tidrick. They're about to be joined by a fourth. You mentioned him a few moments ago. Joshua Marcy is a man on a mission. He's now within the draft of the top 3, and he was one of the quickest cars early on in the short run.
Doing a great job in that number 35. A nice recovery. Didn't let it get in his head. Just put his head down and went to work. And here he is, closing in on Tidrick in the slipstream of the 72. Going to take a peek to the inside, but Tidrick going to shut the door, say, "Not yet, sir. I want a shot at Dan West Jr." We'll keep an eye on this 4-car break at the front as they pull away from Frazier and Grande.
Yes, right now White looking very confident up at the front with a 30 flat. Marcy the quickest out of the 4 at 29.9 with that big toe down the front straightaway especially. But here's the tricky part. Trying to get the pass and trying to get to the inside especially to complete the said move. Tidrick elects to give the space knowing the pace of Marcy, so that move is complete. As well, 2 cars to consider as well who could reel these machines in, especially Tidrick soon. Seth Frazier, Roy Grande have hooked up. They're about a second back of the battle currently on screen for 3rd and 4th.
And Caden Anderson is with striking distance as well. He can catch onto the slipstring of Grande and pull himself right up there after going for a ride earlier in the 37. He's back up in the 7th position, so he is making progress again. Don't count that 37 car out just yet.
Here's a look at him. In fact, Carl Burke also working with him at the moment. Burke's been having a nice and clean run today in the 53 machine. Anderson, we've talked about, needs to close that points deficit. We tend upon it at the top of the broadcast. Not only does he need to make all 8 races, including tonight, Greg, he needs to close a 77-point deficit to get in the top 16 to make the playoffs.
Trying to make as many as he can, and we know from experience, not just in this series with his win at Las Vegas, but I know from a new series to LSR TV this year, the iRacing.com Northwest Super Late Model Tour, Caden Anderson has a lot of speed. He is fast in just about anything he drives. He's one of the favorites for that championship, which you will be seeing here on LSR TV this season. And trust me when I say, if he can really get a good run here in the next few races, he'll be able to get up there and make some ground. But it's going to take a little bit of luck here on his side. And here it is. He's closing in on Grande and Frazier. And Tidrick is coming down pit road in the 72.
And Wesley, this is an audible. Remember, they can't make it on the fuel if they stay on the racetrack. Him and a couple others went on that gamble.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Tidrick, understanding from the crew, maybe right side tires and fuel. Filling up the tanks for that number 72 entry, the Darlington winner for this series. Tidrick will make his way to the midsection of pit lane, and there you see the tires being changed on the right side. Right side tires, 2 tires, is what I've been told. Taking on the fuel, they're actually made the decision now to take on all 4 tires. 4 tires, splash of fuel. The fuel tank's full. He's ready to go to the finish, try to win a race in honor of his friend, Mr. J.C. Wofford.
And remember, he'll be having the chance to close up some of the ground back. The fall off again has gone to a 2.5 P4. Starting to get intriguing again because Seth Frazier has been dancing very loose. He's backed out of this, caught off the 2 tires. He's now pitting as well.
So Seth Frazier, one of those guys in the mix for points, one of those guys you have to consider a championship contender. He's coming towards you now, Wesley.
Yeah, Seth Frazier coming down to the pit lane, creeping, crawling at a snail's pace to make sure that he doesn't get penalized for EOL for speeding on pit road. He's right now in his pit stall to the attention of his crew. They're going to rush over to the right side virtually, put on 2 brand new Dr. Feelgoods, as our producer Charles Wooten calls them, and run back to the left side, tear off the windshield, a track bar wedge, screeching off of pit road, smoking those tires, and he's back onto the racetrack and following, I believe, Justin and Greg, the same strategy that we also saw Mr. Tidrick just make as well.
Those 2 are teammates, Wesley, Tidrick and Frazier. And they're working with Caden Anderson and Dan Lowther tonight. Unfortunately, Dan Lowther's night not going the way he wanted. He's 3 laps down in the number 63, but a 4-car operation for that group here tonight. 2 Fords, 2 Chevys, but it's been an up and down night for them. But now they got a shot. If this thing stays green and the rest of the field has some trouble, they might be able to do it, but I think they may need another caution.
And gentlemen, about 20 laps ago, we saw Caden Anderson pirouetting through the air in turn 1 on a big crash. He's now got that 37 car in the top 10 and 6th.
Unbelievable recovery from him so far, as Stabnow has elected to also duck his car down to the pit lane.
Yeah.
Several drivers not comfortable with the fuel, Wesley.
Yeah, pit stall 2. Jeff Stabnow now onto the pit lane. Definitely a disappointing day for him. Normally, we always say he plays possum. Not the case here tonight. He has struggled effortlessly on that number 24 Ford for Waltz Beardco at LSR TV. He'll now take on 4 tires, fill the tank. He can now go to the finish and even overtime if need be.
So it still becomes the question now, with so many drivers who pit under that caution now joining this strategy. How will this fuel mileage now play out, especially now coming to lap 99 and several drivers backing out, Greg?
It's going to be interesting. A lot of different strategies throughout the course of the race. Wondering how many guys are going to throw audibles, and what will this do to this fuel mileage game, Justin? Now, some leader or lap traffic in front of your leader.
Now, as talked about at the start of the broadcast, one of the drivers this evening, BJ Tidrick, driving with a heavy heart. His best friend, J.C. Wofford, passed away last week with a heart attack. It's now approaching that time for a moment in silence. He drove the number 100. His number was retired by the Northwest Tour. This is the moment of silence in memory of J.C. Wofford. and an emotional night for Tidrick, who's been having a strong race tonight, a top 5 contender most of the evening, and now is hoping this race goes green. He is second on his strategy right now to Seth Frazier, but is also a lap down if there was a yellow flag at this point. One thing to note, as we were doing the moment of silence, Devin West had more trouble and has pulled his car back down the pit lane after some more incidents. Dan West Jr. has also gone towards Wesley Upland this lap.
Emotional night for sure for Tidrick and all of the Northwest family, but the race was on, and that's how they want it.
Kevin Smith had a spin off towards the front stretch. Pardon me there, Wesley, but Smith bounced off the wall and cut through the grass like a lawnmower.
A good save for the Jags entry. 0-0. He'll continue along as we again have those drivers of Dan West Jr. on the pit lane and son, Devin West. A disappointing day for the pole car. He's still in the dogfight, hunting things here as now father Dan West Jr. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, splash of the windshield being teared off as well, and he is back onto the racetrack. And we also see now Kevin Smith make his way onto the pit lane after him having his scare just a moment ago. Possibly might have flat spotted the tires, Justin, as you said, as he goes to pit box stall number 24. He will now take on 4 tires. Other cars under the pit lane include the 94 machine coming also to the pits to take on service. Gentlemen, green flag, money stop. Pit stop, says also the 94. Overshoots his box of KC Garber.
Now we're losing some time. Casey Garber quietly, by the way, just before that pit stop had gotten inside the top 10. We'll lose a bit of time now because of that mistake with the pit box. Off and away he goes. Caden Anderson now is ducked in this time by. He continues his recovery from his spin before.
I think we're seeing this strategy, gentlemen, since we saw Tidrick and Frazier and Moore all come down to the pit lane. They could not go to the finish. He overshoots his pit stall just a little bit over the white line. He'll back it up. No harm, no foul. The Harvest Channel machine of Caden Anderson getting ready to take on 4 tires. The right side tires are on, left side old tires off, new tires on. Fuel is in. He's off down and away. And again, gentlemen, right now only 14 cars on the lead lap. Chris Torres at the tail of the field. And by the way, Devin West is still on the pit lane. I'll try to get a word with the 5 here in a moment.
Thank you very much, Wesley. Now driver Roy Grande, by the way, just ducked down to the pit lane, so that's about to turn to 13.
Yep.
It's now...
Right.
Go ahead.
Roy Grande onto his pit stall as well. Gentlemen, I was about to try to grab Devin West and find out, but he goes to pit stall number 6 to the attention of his crew. No Hooters Taco Bell combo tonight. He's all on his own in the 18 machine. Roy Grande now for service. He'll fall back a lap down as he'll exit the pit lane. Also, the number 8 machine of Nichols is on the pit lane. He'll take on service. 4 tires and fuel. Obviously, I'm efforting. And again, we are trying to find Devin West to get a word with him.
Once you get towards that, thank you very much. As you see Nichols try and complete his service with a bit of difficulty. Frank Harris also coming down this time by the way, but took the apron rather than the track to try and ramp his way in. Will lose several seconds as a result in the number 11, who pit from P11 this time by on the racetrack. So now... well, it becomes the question here at this point, how the rest of this race plays out. I believe Wesley's caught up with pit box number 1.
I have, and there's also another pit stall being occupied for pit stops as well. But right now, we're going to grab a word with the pole machine of Devin West. Devin, disappointment here as we close in on a century grind complete, under 40 laps to go. What's your take of your day here at Texas?
I thought I had a pretty good day going. I thought I had a good chance to win. Really just my fault not pitting there early, messing pit road entrance and falling back to the back and caught up in slow stuff, and then I about embarrassed myself on the back there, so that was a close one, but avoided that, and that's alright. We have speed and could be back in the series, move on to the trucks on Thursday and try to win there.
Does this really mess you up in the points, you think, with this tough loss here today?
I'm not sure where I stand in points. All I know is I don't think I need a win yet, but I sure do want to win anyway. So if I can get a win, that's all my issues. So.
Yeah, I'm checking the stats right now. As a matter of fact, my friend, for the driver of the number 5 machine of Mr. Devin West, currently, of course, Dan West Jr., your dad leading the way. You're currently 15 in the standings, but still looking for that first win. So we'll see how things shake up for sure. That's Devin West. He's out of the event in the 5 for Team LSR TV. As again, Father Dan West Jr. trying to salvage some type of a good night for the West family. And again, Justin Prince, we talked about this when things got started in qualifying. A shake up for sure. You have shook up the Northwest Sugar Tree for the points tonight, as some big contenders are struggling, like Jeff Stabnow, Devin West, Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, and more, as only 11 cars are on the lead lap as we hit the home stretch at Texas.
Thank you, Wesley. Great interview with Devin West. Should note, remember, the rare drops factored in by the end of the season. Devin West was only 9 points with drops factored in above the cut line. As the lead has gotten interesting. Chris Whitehead ran away. Now Marcy's reeled him in, as lap traffic has been having to pass these cars low and high, and it's been hurting White this entire stint, Greg.
Yeah, White had opened it up to about a second before some lap traffic slowed him down. And look at Marcy able to catch on to the back there of Frank Harris and get around the 80 of Chris White. And Chris is just going to call an audible right here and come down pit road. So Marcy going to inherit the lead. Chris White pitting into number 83 now. That moves Sean Brightsman into second, but it's a long way back. Actually, excuse me, Carl Burke will inherit the second position. And Brightsman in third. Remember, he can go, he believes, the whole way on fuel. Question is, what do those guys in front of him have? What do the guys behind him have?
And guys, he overshot his pit stall box. So did the man for Simstar in the Amsoil, number 83 of Mr. Smith, giving up the lead. Chris White now again at pit stall number 15, trying to come out of the pits, screeching tires, little smoke. And here comes also Josh Marcy. He will give up the lead just like Chris White did. Guys, the only guy I'm seeing staying out there is the man we spoke to earlier, besides Carl Burke, Sean Brightsman. Remember, guys, he did not pit. He feels like he can go to the finish, as Josh Marcy, shades of the Days of Thunder colors in the Rick Hendrick City Chevrolet entry. Instead of 46, it's 35. Marcy in his pit stall, exiting his pit stall. Same song and dance, 4 tires. Sunoco fuel back onto the pit lane. And here comes Carl Burke now. And guess, surprise, surprise, who went to the lead now? Sean Brightsman at 46.
Yes, indeed, on the more fuel in the tank. But the others who topped off with them, like Corey Walters, are still on the track as well with a little bit more fuel in the tank. This is about to get really, really interesting to see. One, if Wrightsman and Walters and a couple others can make it to the end here, Greg. But two, if he's able to hold on to the race lead by the time everyone else's tires adjust and they gain the time on him, he's running 31 flats. The fresher tires are running 29.2s at the moment.
Question is, can he hold on long enough for those tires to even out and lose their momentum here? Because Brightsman has opened it up 5.1 over Corey Walters and Bruce Lee Weaver in third. Weaver knows a thing or two about winning a race on fuel mileage, Justin. He picked up his win at Michigan earlier this year on that strategy. Ottenbacher, haven't mentioned the fifth amigo for Team LSR TV yet tonight. He's up in fourth, trying to make it work. So quite a few different strategies, and we had a feeling that it was going to come to this, Justin. All those different strategies all coming to head at once here.
Here's something else though, Wesley. Walters topped off at the final laps of the last caution. He can't make it.
I think it's just a strategy, guys, that he cannot go to the finish. I really believe we're about to, again, get things shook up for this home stretch of the finish. I think late breaks caution flags are coming as a premium and maybe even an overtime shootout. And I think Corey Walters realized that. I think it's best to come down, take on 4 new sides of rubber, add that tank, fill it up to the brim, and get ready to come for the shootout of this deal. Because, gentlemen, I think we've only reached the home stretch of this deal with under 20 laps to go. And seeing Sean Brightsman lead only now 16 cars on the lead lap. By the way, Jeff Stabnow, the first car a lap down.
That's in P16 at the moment. That's about to change with Walters now in 15th or so. Stab now with the chance to pass him as well with this pit service. But the drivers who have not pit, Brightsman, Weaver, Paulison, Ottenbacher, King, Torres. First driver who have pit is Seth Frazier. He is 20.8 seconds back. So Greg, if Brightsman feels he can make it on fuel, this is going to be close because based on those time estimates, there's a chance Frazier catches him on the final lap.
It will be very close, and how crazy would that be if after all said and done with all these different strategies, Frazier catches Brightsman at the white flag? Who knows what's going to happen here? That's if this thing stays green. This thing gets another yellow. This entire thing just gets turned on its lid once again.
Dan West Jr. just took that spot away, by the way, with the pass underneath on Frazier. Car in the grass and more trouble. Still green, though, as it's been an excursion for Jeff Hagan today. 4 laps down, he's back on the apron. His car all damaged all over the place, by the way.
Gonna have to come in, and I believe he's already had to use the fast repair,
yep.
Justin, so that will probably be the end of his day if he can't make it any further, if he's going to come down the pit road. And he's already on the apron coming down pit roads. You see your leader go by there, and watching and looking through the top 5 here, we talked about him earlier. How about Chris Torres in the 99? First start of the season. He's going to perhaps try to make it work on some strategy as he's up in the top 5 here late in a battle with Tyler King right now for that 5th position. Great job by Chris Torres making his debut tonight.
Here's the tough part. He's got 53 laps now in the stint. He'll have to hope he can stretch it to 68 laps to make it to the end. Brightsman to 66. A couple others also are in that mark. Paulison, remember, had also topped off under the caution, is in 3rd. The fastest car on the racetrack right now, by the way, is Joshua Marcy, who is now only 9 laps into his stint and 18.4 seconds behind the race lead.
Marcy, of course, the early leader in this race.
And that nearly became trouble as Tyler King with some technical problems does give the space. Torres also gives the space. So at the very least, Marcy has a top 5. Ottenbacher's 2 seconds up the road. Then about 3 seconds further that to Paulison. Another 2 seconds to Weaver. And then a 10-second gap between 1st and 2nd.
So we'll see how it all unfolds here. Josh Marcy off pit road, first car to pit. We know he is fast. See how much he can gain. Can he perhaps maybe catch up to Brightsman before it's all said and done? 16.7 back.
He's got fresh tires, so does Chris White, by the way. Just 1 lap difference on their tires. He's also trying to cut through the drivers, but the difference here is, Greg, he's trying to pass the cars on the high side, and this puts a little bit more heat on his tires for the rest of this run.
Yeah, it's an interesting move to be passing on the high side, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, Justin. We weren't so sure the high side was the way to go. We thought if you wanted to make a move, you were going to want to do it on the outside. Do it on the outside if you had to, but do it inside. But it had been quite a show for Chris White there, making moves on the inside. Kind of surprised to see him on the outside.
By the way, you've seen right there Ottenbacher going up to the top side to let by Marcy as expected, able to make the move. And right now he's at a clip that is extremely quick. 2 seconds a lap quicker than Brightsman. Can make it to the end if it stays green. 14 to go. Gap is 12.7. Make it 12.5 seconds. Gaining 2 to 3 tenths a corner.
If it goes, if it goes green at the pace it's going right now, he will catch him. But he's got a lot of work to do and a lot of lap traffic between him and that 46 car.
And for those wondering what happened to Seth Frazier in his gaining, the tires equalized. Unfortunate for him, the gap was just not, it seems, big enough. Chris White, by the way, making a move way up the track. Nearly into the marbles on Ottenbacher to take away P5, a plus 10 for him on the race. Shout out to Ottenbacher, who was involved in the big one, had to use a fast repair. He might be able to stretch things if he can make it on the gas, and it's the big thing for a possible top 10 run. And no, he can't, is the answer. He's off from the pits.
Yeah, Ottenbacher coming down pit road. Tough break for him, but had a good run up in the top 5. Got up, I believe, as high as 3rd or even 4th there. And unfortunately, it's just going to come up about 12 laps short. But Josh Marcy has gotten around Paulison for 3rd, Justin. So Marcy back on the podium, closing in on Bruce Lee Weaver for the 2nd spot. And it's inside 10 seconds to Brightsman.
And Weaver has actually also gained 3 seconds since the last time we checked on the gap between 1st and 2nd. But there's Weaver up the road. Marcy is coming in fast. 30.1 last time by as the tires start to equalize. Weaver, 30.2. Not even a chance. This time takes the bottom to try and defend, but Marcy passes him like he's standing still. 7.2 seconds to gain in 10 laps for Joshua Marcy to try and win his first race in series history, while Brightsman tries to play the strategy card with 10 to go.
I was watching them as they crossed the strike. Marcy was 10 miles an hour quicker than Brightsman when he crossed the strike there. Just for reference, we'll see how it is. He gained almost a second that time, so he's closing in. Question is, does he have enough time? We're at 10 to go, coming to 9 as Brightsman comes off 4.
And the drivers trying to stretch it again are Brightsman at the moment. Weaver's trying to stretch it. Paulison trying to stretch it as well with the top off. Torres, Kane as well have yet to advert for their strategy. All of them are still running on the track, but losing about 2 seconds a lap to 1 second a lap, depending on the pit stop call. It's now under 5 seconds, 1.3 seconds gained in the span of 1 sentence.
That was so impressive for Josh Marcy, watching him 1.3 seconds quicker than Brightsman last time. One more lap car ahead of him now as Brightsman's gotten around. I believe that was Ricky Bozer. Brightsman of 31.466 that time. We'll see what Marcy does at the line. 30.028. He is coming 4.2 seconds back now.
Under 4 seconds already. You can hear the Jaws music starting to play. He does have 3 lap cars, though, in front of him to pass. We're about 18th, 19th. We're fighting for position, as well as the 25th place car of Hagan. You see Hagan right now off the pace in the 160s. Nearly hits the wall trying to give space to Marcy. But the next car's up for Frank Harris, Ricky Bozier, then clean sailing to the race leader again.
He was able to cut in a little bit more, but not as much. Only half second that time. 6 laps to go at the line for Brightsman. And a caution is out.
And it's trouble down the front stretch. It's Goins. Rodney Goins brings out the caution, and this changes a lot.
No, Justin. This changes everything. Wow.
A rough debut for Goins as he got turned by Smith coming off the corner you seen. Smith was in 20th, Goins in 23rd, and now Brightsman's in the lead with the chance to equalize on the tires and be the control car if he nails the pit stop. Marcy, I think, as well, with the radio said, Greg, he wanted this race to go green to see if he can catch him.
Yeah, so this is going to turn the entire race on its head. Now, here's the question. If you're in the shoes of Marcy, West Jr., Frazier, those guys, do you pit or do you try to make it going? Because the way these cautions have gone, we might be in overtime territory right now. A natural green-white checker, perhaps. Here we go. We're going to get our answer.
Off to Wesley they go this time. Everyone ducking in.
Yeah, I told you. Here they come all down to the pit lane. This caution changes the entire complexion of the race. Brightsman is in. Marcy is in. White is in. All. Bruce Lee Weaver had problems at the beginning of the race. He's in the show. This is it, gentlemen. No mistakes need to be made on the pit lane. Time to put up or shut up. You play your cards right, and you're going to be the winner of this race. It can be decided right here off the pit lane. Who's going to get off first? You see also Marcy, Dan West Jr. right in front of me here at pit stall number 3, and they all start exiting off the pit lane. Look who's coming out. Marcy. I think Marcy's going to get it. He got it at the pit box. White second, followed by Weaver over Dan West Jr. Oh my goodness, it looked like they were coming to the Tournament of Roses Horses Parade at the line there.
And a terrible stop for Sean Brightsman. 25 seconds, Greg.
I think he slid through his pit box. Justin. He was pitted very far up there. I think he may have either missed his pit stall or got a speeding penalty, one or the other.
And
I'll find out. Look who's leading, people. Carl Burke. Have we talked about this guy? Wouldn't it be special, gentlemen, if Carl Burke could win this race?
Well, this is going to get crazy, too. 20-ish lap old tires for Burke and Walters, who, remember, felt they couldn't make it on the fuel. If they stay out, oh boy, this is going to get very intriguing to see if they can hold on. It looks like they will try at least. Marcy the first on 4. White, Weaver, West Jr., Anderson was your race off pit road. Greg, do you have your popcorn and your seatbelts fastened?
Yes, sir. Carl Berg, Corey Walters staying out. Joshua Marcy was the fastest car on the track before that caution. Now he's got to contend with a guy who we thought was the strongest car perhaps on the short run, Chris White. He's back in the mix. Can't count him out. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky, and I think we've seen a couple times, Greg, on these 1.5 miles. You're a sitting duck even on 20 laps of tires once you get to 3 and 4 usually.
Yeah, I figured we were going to see someone take a gamble. Wasn't sure who it was going to be.
Hey, guys.
And it turns out it's Burke.
Hey, guys, Justin, Greg, listen to this. 2 separate sides of the story of the spectrum here. Sean Breitzman stalled his car exiting pit road. That's what happened to him. He stalled the car, and it cost him dearly. Carl Burke says, and I quote, "I'm going to enjoy this while it lasts. I just hope I don't get virtually killed."
Oh boy!
Here we go.
No Limits Texas for a reason, and he's trying to push what was some of the limits to make it officially no limits for everything else, including the strategy call. We'll see how this works, and Corey Walters
coming down pit road.
Yep, he doesn't like this call, Greg.
Walters saying, no, thank you.
Now, this is going to probably end interestingly, because 2 to go next time by, expecting to go into the 2 to go window when the lights go out.
Yes.
Guys, Corey chickened out. He said he had to come to the pit road.
Yeah, I don't blame him, Wesley.
Yes.
So if you're Carl Burke, how comfortable do you feel about his chances, Wesley, in your personal experience?
Listen, as somebody that has seen him since I've been, pit reporter, truck announcer for the Northwest Series, since I started, back in May, end of May, working with you gentlemen, I will say this. I would love to see Carl Burke win. The fan in me, not the announcer, but the fan in me, would love to see Carl Burke win. He put so much time and effort and dedication into winning these things. People might not know, but, we talk about these stories all the time, and sometimes they're tearful and heartfelt. We talk about the tribute we did for J.C. Wofford for Tidrick and family. Same thing for Carl Burke. Carl Burke had health issues, had a triple bypass, was under the knife and had to go through surgeries and be down, and got involved in the virtual world of esports, gentlemen. And this is like a real deal for him. This is something special for him. This could be one of the biggest moments for this veteran racer's life of esports if he wins here in the Northwest Cup Series. I'm rooting for Carl Burke. The fan in me is for 53.
And to add on to that too, Wesley, I braced against him, especially when I was first getting to iRacing. This was in the mid-2010s. He was also always one of the calmest drivers to race against, and one of the more talented drivers at that time in that skill bracket. He's someone that definitely could get the job done, but it might take a bit of luck. 1 to go this time. Marcy, one else start on the outside front row. White, Weaver, row 2. West Jr. Anderson, row 3. Kane Frazier, row 4. Grande and Casey Garber, plus 18 in P10 to round out row 5. Greg, your thoughts before we go to green-white checkered number 1 of 2 tonight.
Carl Burke is very, very nervous in that 53 car right now because his buffer that he had with Walters is gone because Walters came down pit road. Now he's got the car that was the fastest car on the track to his outside. Here we go. First attempt at a green-white checkered. We got 2 attempts. Here we go. Justin, green flag.
And Burke with a great jump. Marcy caught sleeping. Weaver giving him a shot at the start and finish line. Weaver nearly hit the wall. And Burke has about a 5 car length cushion for turns 1 and 2. Staying even out though as they go up through the gears.
Here comes White to the inside of Marcy. Chris White, he's looking for win number 2 on the season. Got a good run down the inside. Caden Anderson, 3 wide, 2 deep behind him, and White's going to take the lead.
Chris White in the lead. West Jr. gets nearly turned. He saves it. We're still green. No, Frazier's gets spun. Across the nose of Anderson. Caution is out. Second green-white checkered coming.
We did not make it to the line. Caution came out just before we crossed the strike.
So a second attempt, gentlemen. A second and final attempt. Brightsman down pit lane. We'll see what kind of damage he has, as well as Frazier. Whole bunch of craziness here. My goodness, Justin.
Let's take a look at the replay. You see the contact starts with Anderson and West. The 44 gets lucky. Then Frazier gets unlucky right there.
How lucky did the 35 get Josh Marcy? I think Weaver missed him by about a paper width there going up the track. And unlucky was Chris White because he was about 75 feet from crossing the strike to take the white flag. If he makes it to the strike, this race is over. Came up about 75 feet short, and now he's got to do it again.
The reason you see him stop there, by the way, and the pace car, we mentioned it before, if you cross that line, that'll be an EOL and a stop and go during the green flag conditions, but open up the floodgates. It lasted for Burke about a corner and a half, that lead. He's now in second, still on the racetrack, though, because the caution, Marcy just didn't get going, it seemed, Greg, at all on that start, and Weaver just about ran him over.
Yeah, Weaver just almost got into him there. Marcy was able to recover, but White was able to get around him. Now, Marcy's in a good position here, Justin, because he's going to be inside row number 2. We've seen it time and time again on these 1.5 miles, these intermediate tracks. Seems like inside row number 2 in these cup cars is a very preferred position because you're following the leader. You don't have to look to your side to try to time it with him. You can just go when he goes. Marcy might be able to hang with Chris White and be able to get a run on Carl Burke, and I think he may be able to get up there with Chris White. The problem is how strong that 83 car has been on the short runs.
Yeah, he's been looking better and better on the short runs compared to what we've seen from White better on the longer runs once he got into cleaner space earlier on tonight. The tricky thing is going to be here as well, though, for Burke. He's going to have a lot of cars who may stack up behind him and try and freight train him and take him 3 wide once we get to 1 and 2 again.
Yeah, that's the big thing. See how it unfolds here. Lights still on the pace car. Second and final attempt at a green-white checkered. See what happens on this restart. Lights still on the pace car. Chris White back in front for the 3rd time today. We've talked about it. He started 15th, but had a very strong Ford Mustang and has got himself in position to win. Carl Burke staying out for the gamble. In second, Marcy was the strongest car the second half there. Came up short as the caution came out late. How about Bruce Lee Weaver back up in the top 5? Haven't seen him in a while, Justin, and here he is up in the top 5.
6th spot right now, by the way, after all the calamities. Still Dan West Jr. with some damage. 7th is Roy Grande. Give credit to him, has been around that mark all night. Tidrick has recovered from his strategy call and the caution flag timing to get to P8. Nichols, Paulison are inside the top 10. 11 is Garber. Sean Brightsman's recovered from his engine stall to 12. Walters 13. Torres in his debut in 14. Bozier, Ottenbacher, Harris, Stabnow round out the top 18. By the way, should note Frazier and Anderson, for obvious reasons, unsafe pit entrance from that caution flag and that spin. Means both of them will have to start at the very back of the field, while Kevin Smith will move up in front of them. 21 cars with a chance to win this race who are on the lead lap if anything gets crazy. No pressure.
Nah, none at all. Just going to be a wild race. Lights still on the pace car. And if you're Chris White and Carl Burke and company up there, the longer this caution goes, the worse it gets.
So how would you attack this then if you're not White or Marcy, but like a Tyler King or a Wee Weaver or a West Jr.? How would you play this?
If I'm in one of those shoes, Lee Weaver, Tyler King, and company up there, if once that green flag falls, it's full send. You're going and just trying to get as many spots as you can and hope that happens to make it work out for you, because it's going to take quite a bit around the likes of White and Marcy up there, but you just got to go as hard as you possibly can and just hope that you can come away with as good a finish as you can and maybe even steal a win if something happens to White and Marcy. You just got to get yourself in a position to capitalize.
Hey, guys, here's something to think about, too. Carl Burke, I know he's second. I know he's got used up tires, but they've been cooling off. That's a good thing. He's got a shot, Justin.
Especially if things get crazy up towards the front, absolutely. I think he's got a decent position to try and get at least a top 10 run if he can keep his car clean and get a little luck once again. But want to hear your picks, guys. First things first, Greg, as we get the one to go signal this time by. Who is your favorite to win this?
It's hard to go against the ADP right now, Justin. He has been so strong on the short run, and with the older tires of Burke to his outside, that's the advantage he needs. I think Marcy's going to be able to give him a run, but I think Chris White has enough to hold him off.
Wesley, your pick?
My pick as the fan is Carl Burke, but I really believe Joshua Marcy's going to get this victory. Keep an eye on that City Chevrolet number 35. And here's another thing, as lights are off on the pace car, Justin, and we get ready to bring this one on home for supper, or at least a midnight snack, if you will. Hey, this race this is probably one of the most exciting races of the Northwest Cup Series I think we've seen all year so far. Not even in the playoffs yet. This race has had it all. Great strategy.
100% agree with you on that one. It's had its long runs. It has had its fuel strategy gambles. It's had its pit miscues. It's had its big ones. And now it's down to the conclusion of tonight's action.
Double overtime, might I add.
Yes, indeed. This is the last green-white checkered attempt for this race. If they get the caution before they get to the white, race is official. Finishes under yellow. Race is official if they get the white. Anything goes from that mark, essentially. Pace car is off. The AMSOIL machine in control of the field. Burke on the outside. Weaver trying to time it behind. Off and away goes Chris White. 2 laps to go from Texas.
That's a huge jump, Justin. Was it too much? Because now the rest of the draft is going to be able to sneak back up on him. You see King tucking up on the back bumper of Marcy. That may have just been a little bit too big of a jump. Marcy's going to have a lot of momentum off turn 2 here.
Already passing by as well. Weaver, Kane also on by. Marcy trying to follow the draft. White trying to break it up at the front of the group. Race is official if they take the white flag. Cars scattering a little bit towards the middle line, but they will get the white flag. 1 lap to go. Races between White and Marcy.
Marcy putting pressure, taking a peek inside. White shuts the door as they roll through 1 and 2 for the final time. White with a bobble. Here comes Marcy to the inside.
He nearly hit him. Tries to get to the corner panel. Nearly side by side into 3. White in the middle. Here comes Marcy for the drag race.
They touch in 3 on the apron.
Big slide for Marcy. He goes on to the pits. Chris White holds on. He wins at Texas.
And Marcy held on for second, I think.
Wow.
No, it's third as he gets pin-ponned. Weaver was able to beat him at the stripe. Just avoided a penalty.
Whew, just barely. Wow, unbelievable. But it's win number 2 on the season for the AMSOIL Ford Mustang. Chris White gets win number 2 on the season. He won the Brickyard 200 earlier. He's got himself a win in the Lone Star State now.
That was an exciting finish that we came here and stayed for throughout tonight. Let's take a look. This is from the backstretch. And look at this run as Marcy reeled him on in with the slipstream.
White shutting the door right there. I believe this is coming to the white flag.
Yes, it is.
This was when we realized that it was going to be between these two. Tyler King up there in third at that moment. And nice recovery for King after everything happened with him today. But here we are. You see right here, there was the bobble from Chris White right there that we thought, okay, it's going to be a shot for Marcy. There it was, getting down on the apron. But this right here into turn 3, Justin, the determining factor.
See right there, drifts up, White drifted down, big save for Marcy, and right there just avoids the commitment cone. Weaver passes him just about right there at the stripe. Well, he is now on timing, been updated to have that spot by a tight margin of just about 1/10 of a second. And what could have went either way? What a win for Chris White. The celebrations are underway down the front stretch. Let's take a peek at your unofficial race results as White's treated like a pinball. For Chris White, he had to work for this one. Had speed on the long run, but the strategy pays off and the race win goes to him on the second GWC, while Marcy comes home in second, nearly spinning in the grass, but Weaver just got third spot. Nearly got second with the calamity at the stripe. Roy Grande in fourth, Tidrick in fifth, Keenan sixth, Burke, West Jr., Walters, Brightsman round out your top 10, Greg.
Coming home in the 11th spot is the 42 of Ricky Bozer, who had a nice quiet run. Finished his home in 11th. With Gary Nichols, we didn't talk about him, Justin, but he came home 12th. Very nice effort for the number 8, Casey Garber, in the number 94 in position 13. Nice run for Ken tonight. Kevin Smith kept it clean in the 00 with Steve Paulson rounding out the top 15 once it was all said and done. John Ottenbacher 16th, Frank Harris 17th, rounding out the top 20 where Chris Torres, a nice debut for him, didn't go his way at the end. And then Seth Frazier and Jeff Stabnow round out your top 20.
Caden Anderson finishes 21st. He had a bit of trouble at the back of the field trying to gain some of the positions back. Dan Lambert, the first run for several laps, down 22nd. Jacob Davis, Rodney Goins, Jeffrey Hagan, Devin West, James Vining, Eric Cheney, Dan Stuzzi round out your entries. Ray Fournier did not make it to the track today. DNFs were from about 26th on down for tonight's action. But a competitive one tonight here from No Limits, Texas at Texas Motor Speedway. There's a reason they call it the Great American Speedway. It was a great race tonight here on LSR TV. The Clan Wars post-race show coming up in just a few moments. We'll take a step aside. When we come back, we'll speak with your podium drivers. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing from Northwest Cup Series Racing. Welcome everyone once again to LSR TV for post-race coverage of the Northwest Cup Series presented by Clan Wars. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. It was a lot of work tonight And a throw-in race, one of the most exciting of the season for the Texas 210. Chris White, though, came away with his second victory of the campaign. He now joins me here in the broadcast booth. Chris, how does it feel to be a two-time winner this season?
Nothing short of fantastic. It feels great to get back up in victory lane in the Sam's Ford Mustang. Definitely good to win. It was intense, wasn't it?
It definitely was intense up here. It looked intense as well from the driver's perspective, it seemed tonight. Talk us through the final green-white checkered attempt, because it became down to you and Joshua Marcy.
Yeah, I had a good chance to, I think, get up there and lead this race to the end, and then that final caution came out and created that final green-white checkered run for us, and it was kind of a iffy situation. I had the lead, and that's the place to be in, and then I had older tires on the outside of me, so there was an advantage there, but I knew that 35 was going to be strong behind me, and sure enough, he was there. And it was a door-by-door battle to that checkered finish line, but it's good to be the one to get there first, though.
Absolutely. Want to ask you this about the strategy calls tonight. It was an intriguing one where we've seen several different calls. Some drivers trying to stretch it on the field towards the end of the race. You got the long green flag run where you're one of the quickest cars in that stint, mind you. What was your take on how this race played out from start to finish overall, in your opinion?
I didn't get much seat time, no practice time really in this race, other than coming in right before the race started and turning a few laps right before qualifying. And the car was pretty stable. It felt like a little loose on these fresh tires, and I was a little bit worried going into the race. I felt that the car was going to be too loose to handle these guys up front, so I just figured I'd pace myself and see how the car played out. And I think it felt better on the long run. It was really, really, really good on the long run, especially through turns 1 and 2, and it seemed like I was gaining on a lot of these guys. They were, I think, heating up that right front tire, and I was taking advantage of that and picking them off one by one, and I worked my way up to the top 5, and that long run was a good one. And unfortunately, the caution came out, and then it was caution, break caution kind of thing for a little while, but overall it played out in favor for us, and that's a good thing.
Next race is currently scheduled for Chicagoland at the moment. Your thoughts on going to the Windy City?
Every time I think of Chicagoland, it's a fun track. I run really well there. But every time I think of Chicagoland, I think back to the Xfinity Series when I was up running for the championship against Jeff Stabnow and a couple of these guys, and had a good, strong car ready to take that championship. But I told myself not to make a mistake, and I did, entering pit road, and it cost me the race and possibly the championship. So every time I go to Chicagoland, it's a good reminder of that. But not this time. I think this time we'll go back and we'll do something now that we're in the Cup car, and hopefully we'll put it back in victory lane.
Who do you want to thank for your second victory of the season tonight?
Definitely got to thank you guys. LSR TV, fantastic broadcasting. I'm definitely go back and check this out, especially the closing laps there, that intense battle for the win. Got to relive that again for sure. So you guys do a fantastic job. Thanks to you guys. SimStar Motorsports, we're running a unique paint scheme this week, kind of in tribute to the Real Cup guys in the All-Star race, where they put that number a little bit farther back, and primary sponsor on the door panel. So it looks kind of neat. So I'm kind of curious of what these guys think. But AMSOIL and Interstate Synthetics, if you're looking for AMSOIL, visit interstatesynthetics.com. And shout out to all the fans that watch these races, of course. And got a couple of buddies that watch for me, and I appreciate that. And looking forward to Chicagoland, and we'll see you there.
Congratulations on your second victory of the season, Chris. Well done.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
That's Chris White coming home in P1 tonight. Joshua Marcy, unfortunately, having technical issues on his perspective. But Leslie Outland, though, has been able to catch up with your third-place finisher, Bruce Weaver.
Yeah, Bruce Lee Weaver, what a phenomenal job for you in the number 40 machine. This has got to be like a win for you, pal. Top 3 tonight.
Yeah, hey, it feels like a win. Ran outside the top 10 most of the night. Didn't have a car to get up front and run with those guys, but you've seen we've done it before. Crew chief called that gamble, and we took it.
And I will say this, you struggled in the beginning of this race. Talk about the strategy of turning everything around to have a good top 3 podium.
Well, when that long green flag run happened, I noticed that we were close on fuel, so I started thinking about just trying to make it, and then before you know it, we had a caution that fell right into our lap.
A good run. Got to be a momentum booster as we go down to the final home stretch, as you say, to the playoffs.
Yeah, looking forward to Chicagoland next week. We seem to run good there, so like to get there with the momentum that we got from here.
There you go. Got anybody you want to thank sponsor-wise on the 40?
Oh, I always want to thank the wife. Like to thank Gundy's Auto Recyclers up there in Washington State. If you guys need auto parts, give us a call. Metro Saw Cutting and Addiction Power Sports. Those are the guys that help get us here every week.
Third place podium for the driver, the number 40, Bruce Lee Weaver. Gentlemen, my final thoughts as we wrap it up and get ready to cover the action on pit road. Awesome performance by the drivers. This race had everything. It was a jigsaw puzzle, Rubik's Cube race from A to Z, from what color to bounce the whole thing together. Everything was strategy-wise, from the long green flag run to the wrecks to the extended cautions to the shootout to the fuel strategy to having to make that late race pit stop for the drivers that underestimated and said, I can't go to the end. And when it's all said and done, Chris White was able to go that extra mile and put it into victory lane for a second win on the Northwest Cup Series. We'll take off until Thursday night. We're right back here at Texas Motor Speedway. I'll be in the booth alongside with Greg. It should be fun. Justin, always a pleasure working with you. You guys take us home.
Yes, indeed, a very enjoyable race tonight. Very enjoyable to work with you once again, Wesley. Thank you very much for the great work you do down at Pit Road. Greg, want to ask you your final thoughts as well as what to expect for Chicagoland now with 7 races to go into the playoffs.
A wild one here in Texas. Here, Justin, a long day in Texas on LSR TV. 2 Cup races tonight, but this race was epic. We saw different drivers on different strategy from the get-go. A lot of different strategies going, and it was quite the performance for everybody as we had such a wild one. Congratulations again going out to Chris White. I'm so impressed with what Josh Marcy and Bruce Lee Weaver were able to do tonight as well to get a podium. Great job, especially for Weaver. First time back in quite a few weeks for Weaver and back in the mix with a podium right there. But next week at Chicago, it's a 1.5 mile, different configuration than what we saw tonight at Texas. A lot of people compare it to Vegas and Kansas. It's a little bit different on the backstretch, but I think if you go back and watch the replays of the races at Kansas and Las Vegas earlier this season, I think you're going to see more of the same here next at Chicago, and it should be quite the race next week.
Absolutely. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for tonight's action here at the Texas Motor Speedway. I'd like to thank Chris White and Bruce Lee Weaver for taking the time to speak with us during the Clan Wars post-race show here tonight. As talked about, the next time the Cup Series hits the racetrack is at Chicagoland on August 17th. Coverage starts at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:10 p.m. Pacific. We hope to see you then here on LSR TV. But it's time to say goodbye. For our producer, Charles Wooden, for our pit road reporter tonight, Wesley Utwin, for my co-announcer, Greg Ransom, Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Congratulations once again to Chris White on his second victory of 2020 in the Cup Series. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.